Jamaica currently has its hands full fighting the novel coronavirus, and now, here it comes, guys, a predicted active hurricane season. We've got Richard Thompson with us this morning, Acting Director General of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, joining us now to share this year's plans, especially in the context of what we're already dealing with. So, Richard, good morning to you. Good to have you on Smile this morning. How are you?
Good morning, Simone, and to your viewers. I'm good, a little tired, but I'm good.
Yeah, tired because you're busy planning to get us ready for the season?
Well, not only busy planning, you know, the ODPEM is the National Disaster Coordinator, and we're also the Secretariat of the National Disaster Risk Management Council. And we're in the middle of a pandemic response.
Yes.
So the team has been extremely busy as part of that overall process, performing the tasks that we are mandated to as a National Disaster Coordinator.
What are some of the things you've been doing? Because I've heard people say that that ODPEM is unusually quiet during this time. Is it that we haven't heard and we just don't know? Tell me some of the things that they...
I think it's not fully understanding the process. We are the national coordinator. Pandemic is a public health emergency, and the Ministry of Health is the lead as it relates to any kind of public health emergencies or any kind of health-related disasters. So the Ministry of Health will be the team up front. It does not mean that the ODPEM is not working. We are coordinating other aspects of the response that is not hardcore health specific. As you know, we would have done a lot of quarantining of communities and the logistics that involve in that, the number of players that are involved in the process, the Jamaica Defence Force, the Constabulary, Ministry of Labour and Social Security, SDC, because when you're doing a quarantining of a community, you need to have population data.
Yes.
You need to know what the persons in the community that are in normal times are even below the poverty net, and those persons have to be responded to in terms of ensuring that they are able to eat, that they are able to have the necessary sanitization supplies, everything like that. So that other aspect of the that is not hardcore health specific is normally coordinated.
And not highly visible. So what you're saying is you're busy doing the work in the background, but it's critical work. How much of what you're doing now?
Because
Go ahead.
Yes, because the country is used to seeing the ODPEM up front.
Yes.
And probably seeing the ODPEM Director General. Because pandemic response or this present COVID situation is like building the aeroplane and flying it at the same time.
Gotcha.
So because the team is used and the country is used to seeing the ODPEM up front, given the press conference, it does not necessarily mean that this process applies the same.
Well, let's talk about an area that we're going to see you more up front on, which is usually at this time of year. What are some of, well, first of all, we ask this question every year. I don't know that we can ever really be, but are we ready for what is being predicted to be a very active season?
Well, ready is relative. We have a very good system. We have the necessary processes in place. We have been doing all the work, and we started very early in looking at all the assessment of shelters, looking at the protocol that we have to apply for this season, given that we are in the middle of a pandemic response, and we are talking about a new normal. Looking at how we would manage shelters in the middle of a pandemic, looking at how the emergency responder would have to respond to persons in the middle of a pandemic. All those protocols are being worked out. The one that is posing a little challenge is the aspect of how we will manage shelters. And the local authorities have been doing extensive work in that regard in terms of doing the shelter assessment, and we have done those early.
And we have done those. What is the challenge with how you will manage the shelters? What is the challenge?
Remember, Shelters are normally crowded space, and
Right.
in the
Okay.
middle of a in the
Gotcha.
middle of a pandemic, and when you're talking about social distancing and ensuring that there is infectious disease control measures being applied in shelters, that's where the challenge will come in. Where we're talking about now, using more space within a shelter facilities. A lot of schools are used as shelters, but many times you might use 1 or 2 classrooms. Now it's looking at probably using almost the entire school, ensuring that there are areas for quarantine and areas for isolation if you end up in a situation where there is someone in the shelter that is showing signs.
Yeah.
Ensuring that the supplies in the shelter is way beyond the normal comfort items that we would have provided, your cots, your blanket. We have to ensure that there is adequate sanitizers, adequate sanitization supplies. Looking at thermometers, your shelter team will have to be expanded to look at not only your shelter managers, but probably some of your public health officers. So it's all these protocols now we have to work out to ensure that we are fully prepared to
Right.
deal with a kind of a double whammy if it
Gotcha.
should happen.
Understood. So
We're dealing with
so it's responding in the same way, but within the context of this pandemic, which makes everything else
of the
different.
pandemic, which makes
Right.
everything else a little bit different.
What about the cleaning of gullies, cleaning of drains? We know, I believe the Minister of Local Government spoke to that the other day, phase 1 of the disaster risk mitigation program. It's been rolled out. Has that work begun? Where are we with that?
Well, that has always been a part of the overall process. My minister had a meeting a couple of days ago, last week Friday, with the local authorities looking at their preparedness, and that's a part of the process in terms of ensuring that all the necessary drains, the gullies, and all these kind of response preparedness measures are being looked at, are being worked through in order to ensure that we are minimizing the event of flooding. One of the secondary impact from storm systems is flooding, and we have a number of communities in Jamaica that are susceptible to flooding.
Yes, and our drains, we seem to, I mean, just need a little bit of rain to start seeing our streets underwater.
And we have to also accept the fact that we are in different times. We're talking about climate change. We're talking about systems operating differently. Many persons were tracking Matthew on their social media, tracking Matthew on the international media. And we see where Matthew literally moved through the grind from a category 1 system to a category 5 system in hours. We see where Bahamas had a situation where the system sat over Bahamas for almost days, literally not moving, pounding them with rain and at category 5 wind systems. So we understand that systems operate differently, and so your protocols have to change and your preparedness measure have to change.
Okay.
And now compounded now with your double event, you're talking now about COVID-19 and how now we have to treat response in the midst of COVID-19.
All right, Sir Richard. We thank you for your time this morning. National Hurricane Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, that's the NOAA? NOAA?
No.
NHOAA?
No. Say no.
Is predicting 13 to 19 named storms, of which 6 to 10 could become hurricanes, and the forecast includes 3 to 6 major hurricanes of category 3 or higher. So we have to be on alert, Jamaicans, and listen out for your ODPEM updates and alerts.
And
Thank you very much.
Always remember, the season is 6 months, but it takes just one system to cause total devastation and set back our economy for years.
Copy that.
So the country has to be prepared, and persons, they themselves have to take that collective responsibility, not only to depend on the state, but for they themselves to make the necessary preparations.
Absolutely. Echo that sentiment. Thank you very much. Acting Director General, the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, Richard Thompson. We take a break on Smile Jamaica. We have more on the other side. Soon come.